Hello again. This is part 2 of my Dark Souls lore series. It needs to be said now that I do not believe that the lords ever truly got along, but that they at least had a truce when destroying the dragons. Why go on this assault, however, then? Perhaps the dragons were never even able to help the humans, or perhaps they were oblivious to their existence. More than likely, however, they simply did not care and looked at humanity from afar with apathy. In this way, what Gwyn and the others do seems just, if not more so, the next stage in the evolution of the world. It is also all part of the plan that leads to demon souls. I've been wrestling with delving into that theory in the second entry because I don't want to scare people from watching others, but here it goes. While the human and dragon stuff I spoke of is occurring, the souls in the flames are plotting, specifically the old one, waiting to take over everything. His is the dark soul. We learn from Kath, but your progenitor found a fourth soul, a unique soul, the dark soul. Your ancestor claimed the dark soul and waited for fire to subside, and soon the flames did fade, and only dark remained. Very scary. This already happened, and would have been the end of the world as we see it in the game, but Kath goes on to explain. However, Lord Gwyn trembled at the dark, clinging to his age of fire, and in dire fear of humans, and the Dark Lord who would one day be born amongst them, Lord Gwyn resisted the course of nature. By sacrificing himself to link the fire, and commanding his children to shepherd the humans, Gwyn has blurred your past to prevent the birth of the Dark Lord. Now, there isn't exact proof, especially because of the legal issues, but I believe this Dark Lord to eventually become known as the Old One 1,000 or more years from when Dark Souls takes place. It really does make sense if you think about it. The Lords, and for that matter, the Lords and humans for that matter, which the Dark Lord ultimately is one of, desire to destroy and inhabit the dragon's world. This area is below everything. Below. The same as how the Old One resides below the Nexus. We already know that numerous other regions or landmasses exist aside from Lord Ran, which would explain Boletaria well enough. Then, finally, the fourth Archstone, the one we cannot access in Demon Souls because it is a land overridden with evil fog and a land of giant demons. The Lords are specifically giant. Just look at Guinevere, Gwyn's tomb, and the Tomb of the Giants to be clear on that. It is a powerfully evil and dark land, this Archstone, which would make sense because the Dark Lord is looking to begin the Dark Age in which only dark remained. In my opinion, that is as good a Demon Souls backstory as any. I'm going to talk about the different lords and the flame in another vid, so we'll leave the rest of that alone for now. I wanted to talk about the arch trees next. The trees that hold up Lordran at current are not the same as those that existed long ago. There are a handful of shields, I'll just say the Warrior's Round Shield for an easy reference, that state this. The giant trees in Lordran are distant offspring of the Great Stone Arch Trees. This makes sense, of course. The lords attacked the dragons, and the Isolith family in particular burned everything to the ground as we see in the intro movie. The current trees are the ancestors of those trees, however, which also makes sense. Trees spread their seedlings all the time, and though they obviously wouldn't before the assault against them and the dragons began, perhaps as a last-ditch effort they hoped for a massive spawning. This idea came to me while watching someone else's vids, Quilags, but the most of the world we venture in takes place on these new trees. They are massive, and they hold up the majority of the game world. Now, I do have to say that we can see easily that it's not one tree per world. In the Tomb of Giants, before entering Nito's area, if you look up, you can see that many trees are interconnected. That isn't to say that there aren't separate tree worlds. The Undead Asylum, for example, has got to be in a different set of trees, for we need a giant crow to traverse back and forth, and also, Boletaria would be far, far away. Lastly in this vid, I wanted to talk about souls just a little. They are something not understood or concerned for outside of the land of Lordran. If you look at the description for any of the 3 coins, they state that they have little value in Lordran, but are carried around by those fond of returning to the outside world. From this we can assume that regular forms of currency still matter in any land not covered in demons and undead, which also, in my opinion, is proof that very few places are overrun with the undead. We know from the Baldur armor set description that the kingdom of Baldur was abandoned when it was overrun, but primarily the undead are shepherded, as per Gwyn's orders, to Lordran to be used as flame fuel. And I think that'll be it for now. Thanks again, and again, please feel free to comment and question.